Okay, that's about the limit of my expertise. So let's go meet some professional blacksmiths out there in the Museum of America. First stop will be Glen, Michigan, which is part of the Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore area. And then we're going to close the show out with a quick visit to Colonial Williamsburg. I'll see you out there. Just behind me is the recently restored blacksmith shop here at Glen, Michigan. It's part of the Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore Park. And we're going to meet blacksmith Dan Muir, who's going to show us today that not everything a blacksmith made was purely functional. Sometimes it was merely decorative. Let's take a look.
Take your copper scraps. Blacksmith never throws anything away. Clip the corners. You have a little piece like that. And you grab your hammer here. Start working around the edges. You end up with something that looks like that. We drill a hole in the center. Now this is where the blacksmithing part comes in. We go over to the forge and we heat these up. What that does, as you work this, it gets hard and it becomes brittle. So you put them in the fire and that will anneal that copper back down soft again. And that's what we're going to do now. When you work metal, the more you work it, the more brittle it gets. So you reach a point where if you work it any further, it will crack or break. So by annealing, in this case, we heat the metal back up, put it in the fire, and then quench it in water. And that, in turn, softens the metal back again. And that's what I'm doing now.
Now I showed my viewers earlier that if you get steel too hot, it goes off like a sparkler. What happens if you get that copper too hot?
It will melt.
Okay. Dan, after that annealing, that copper's taken on a real rosy color. What's that all about?
Well, that's just the way the metal turns after the extreme heat has been placed on it. So next step we need to do is get that back down to a copper color.
Okay.
Which I'm going to be doing here directly.
Would those stay rosy if you wanted them to?
Sure. Okay, now we just take a just kind of get that loose scale off. Okay, and we got those, and then we need what we're making here is a rose, so I need to make the stalk of the rose. This is called a duplex nail. They use it in carpentry a lot. It's a two-headed nail is all it is. So all I do is cut off the top head, and that gives you something that looks like that.
Got it.
So we put that in the vise. Now we take all our little copper pieces here.
I'm just going to stack those up?
And stack them up crisscross. And the last one, there's just enough you can make 6 petals.
From that height on that duplex nail. Okay.
That kind of compresses all that down. That kind of gives that a matted finish.
Yep. I can hear the honeybees coming in now. It's so real.
Nothing but an old kitchen knife and a pair of needle nose pliers. We start working on this. And start rolling back.
This is really cool.
So blacksmithing entails a lot of different things. You work with a lot of different metals, and it's not just black iron. Lord knows you might end up making springs and chisels.
Right.
Artistic things, utilitarian.
I'm sure in a remote community, a blacksmith would have been called on to do all kinds of stuff with metal.
Well, I think it went beyond that back in the early days, being remote. I think they were kind of the cornerstone of the whole community, because not only did they make hardware, but because a lot of them shoed horses, well, they had to be somewhat of a veterinarian too. And if you were 75 miles from the closest town and somebody had to deliver a baby, I think you would probably be the one that would be doing it.
I hear what you're saying.
They had a lot of things going on, and they knew everybody, so they end up being, you know, running the towns and things like that. You can see how that's starting to take the appearance of a rose. Like so.
Holy cow.
And then the last thing you want to do is to, well, let's see, grab my hammer. We're a crafty bunch, us blacksmiths. We can make anything but money and fix anything but a broken heart.
Now that is one good-looking rose. Well, now you've seen blacksmithing in a modern setting. Here we are at Colonial Williamsburg. Let's take a look at how they did it in 1776. And as you'll see, not that much has changed.